Both engines stopped 49 seconds after takeoff. The plane was going down into a forest of big trees. 67 people would die in 30 seconds. The pilots had no answer. Then a quiet woman from seat 12C walked to the cockpit and said, "I'm a fighter pilot. Call sign Viper. Let me land this plane." Before you watch full story, comment below from which country are you watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories. It's November 14th, 2024. Thursday morning. 6:47 a.m. You're sitting in seat 18F on Horizon Air Flight 2718. Seattle to Portland. A quick 45-minute flight. You've done this trip a dozen times before. Same airport. Same route. Same boring safety demonstration you've memorized by now. You scroll through work emails on your phone. The flight attendant stands at the front of the cabin, showing everyone how to buckle a seatbelt. Like anyone doesn't know how to do that. She points to the emergency exits. Points to the oxygen mask demonstration. You're not watching. Nobody ever really watches. The plane is half empty. Maybe 67 passengers total. Early morning business travelers mostly. A few families with sleepy kids. College students with backpacks and headphones. Everyone looks tired. It's too early for conversation. You barely notice the woman in seat 12C. Brown hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. Late 30s, maybe 40. She wears a faded green jacket that looks like military surplus, but could just be something from a thrift store. Earbuds in her ears. She stares out the window with intense focus, like the gray clouds outside are the most interesting thing in the world. She hasn't said a single word since boarding. Didn't make eye contact with anyone in line. Just found her seat, sat down, and looked out that window. Some people are like that on flights. Quiet. Private. In their own world. You'll remember her later. When everything goes wrong. When those quiet 30 seconds become the most important half-minute of your entire life. But right now, she's invisible. Just another passenger. The engines grow louder. That familiar sound. The aircraft rolls forward, turning onto the runway. You can feel the vibration through your seat. The flight attendants take their jump seats. Click their own seatbelts. The engines roar. The plane accelerates down runway 16R. Faster. Faster. Then that gentle lift. The nose comes up. The ground drops away. You're airborne. You think about your morning meeting. The presentation you still need to finish. Whether there's time to grab coffee when you land in Portland. Normal thoughts. Boring thoughts. You have no idea that in exactly 49 seconds, you'll be falling out of the sky. And that quiet woman in 12C is the only reason you'll survive. The sound comes first. Not an explosion. Not dramatic like in movies. Just a mechanical sound. Clang. Metal hitting metal somewhere behind you. Sharp. Wrong. Then the left engine starts making a noise like rocks in a washing machine. A grinding, rattling sound that makes your stomach drop. Bang. The entire aircraft shudders. Your coffee cup falls off the tray table. Bang. Bang. Now the right engine. Same horrible grinding noise. Getting worse. Getting louder. Then silence. Not peaceful silence. Wrong silence. Empty silence. The engines have stopped. Both of them. You can hear the wind now. Just wind rushing past the fuselage. No engine roar. Nothing. You're at 800 feet altitude. Over dense Washington forest. You have maybe 30 seconds before you hit the ground. The nose drops. Violently. Suddenly you're looking down at the seat in front of you instead of looking forward. The angle is all wrong. Your seatbelt digs into your lap. Your stomach lurches into your throat. Oxygen masks drop from the ceiling. Yellow plastic cups dangling on rubber tubes. They swing wildly as the plane tilts. Someone screams. A woman behind you. Then another scream. Then several people screaming at once. The flight attendant in the front galley grabs the nearest seat. Her eyes are huge. Her face is white. You look out the window and see trees. Massive Douglas fir trees. 200 feet tall. Getting closer. Fast. So fast. Your hands grip the armrests. Your knuckles turn white. Your heart hammers in your chest so hard it hurts. This is it, you think. This is how I die. Captain Jennifer Hayes has been flying for 23 years. 19,000 flight hours. She's landed in thunderstorms, dealt with hydraulic failures, handled drunk passengers. She's trained for every emergency in the book. But she's never had both engines fail at the same time. At 800 feet. Over forest. Next to her, First Officer Marcus Webb stares at the instruments like they're lying to him. Both engines failed, Marcus says. His voice is too high. Too tight. How did both engines fail? Doesn't matter right now, Jennifer says. Her hands move fast. Mayday, 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 Horizon 2718, dual engine failure after takeoff, going down. Marcus is already running through the restart checklist. His hands fly over switches and buttons. Engine 1 restart, no response. Engine 2 restart, nothing. They're not starting. Emergency power unit. Activating, it's not coming online. We've got no hydraulics. No electrics. Nothing. Jennifer pulls back on the yoke but the aircraft barely responds. Without engine power, there's no hydraulic pressure. The flight controls are heavy. Almost locked. Like trying to steer a car with no power steering. How much altitude, she asks. Marcus looks at the rapidly decreasing numbers. 650 feet. We've got maybe 15 seconds before we hit trees. Jennifer makes a decision. It's the only decision. Brace for crash landing. I'm aiming for that clearing. There is no clearing. Marcus shouts. It's all forest. Jennifer can see it through the windscreen. Nothing but trees. Thick forest. No roads. No fields. Nowhere to land. They have 10 seconds. The cockpit door opens behind them. A woman stands in the doorway. Brown hair. That military jacket. Eyes that are completely calm. Too calm for what's happening. I can land this aircraft, she says. Marcus spins around in his seat. Get out of the cockpit. Now. You have 12 seconds before you hit those trees, the woman says. Her voice is steady. No panic. No fear. I can glide this aircraft back to the runway. I've done it before. Jennifer doesn't look back. Her eyes are locked on the forest rushing up at them. We don't have time for this. My name is Colonel Natasha Volkov. Russian Air Force. Call sign Viper. I landed a Su-35 fighter with no engines over Moscow in 2019. 14 million people watched it on television. I know how to do this. Marcus stares at her. You're Russian military? I was, Natasha says. I defected 6 months ago. CIA has my file. But none of that matters if we're all dead in 8 seconds. There's no way to turn around. Marcus says. We don't have the altitude. You don't turn, Natasha says. You glide. Maximum lift, minimum drag, use ground effect over the water. I can do this but you need to let me take the controls right now. Jennifer glances over her shoulder. Just for a second. She looks into Natasha's eyes and sees something there. Certainty. Experience. The look of someone who's been here before. Someone who survived. 6 seconds left. She gets one chance, Jennifer says. Marcus, help her. What? Help her or we're dead. Now. Natasha slides into the jump seat behind them. Her hands go to the controls. Muscle memory from 2400 flight hours kicks in automatically. Her brain shifts into a different mode. Fighter pilot mode. I need full flaps, she says. Right now. Gear stays up. Kill all unnecessary electrical loads. Everything. Marcus hits the flap lever. Flaps 30. More. Full. Full flaps at this speed will. Do it. Marcus pushes the lever all the way. Flaps 40. Maximum. The aircraft nose comes up slightly. Drag increases massively. They're bleeding airspeed fast but gaining precious seconds of glide time. Altitude, 380 feet. Trees, 4 seconds away. Natasha's hands move across the yoke with absolute precision. No hesitation. Every movement exactly right. We're not landing in trees, she says. We're landing on water. Jennifer's blood runs cold. What? Puget Sound is 90 degrees to the left. 2 miles. We can make it if I can stretch this glide. We can't turn 90 degrees with no engines at 300 feet. Jennifer says. I can, Natasha says. Trust me. Natasha banks the aircraft left. Hard. The plane rolls into a steep turn that should be suicide at this altitude with no engines. The whole aircraft tilts sideways. Passengers scream. Luggage shifts in the overhead bins. Marcus is yelling, "You're going to stall. You're going to kill us." No, Natasha says calmly. I'm going to save you. Watch. She holds the aircraft right at the edge of a stall. The wings are generating maximum lift but barely. She can feel it through the controls. That sweet spot. That razor edge between flying and falling. They're losing altitude like crazy. Dropping fast. But they're turning. 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 The forest disappears from the windscreen. Water appears instead. Gray, cold Puget Sound. Altitude, 180 feet. Distance to water, half a mile. Rate of descent, 1200 feet per minute. They're going to make it to the water. But they're coming in too fast. Too steep. Ground effect, Natasha mutters to herself. Come on. Give me ground effect. At 50 feet above the water, something happens. The aircraft's descent slows. The cushion of air trapped between the wings and the water surface creates extra lift. The plane floats on this invisible pillow. 30 feet. 20 feet. Natasha pulls back on the yoke with everything she has. Her arms shake with the effort. The aircraft is so heavy without hydraulics. She's fighting pure mechanical linkages. Steel cables and pushrods. 10 feet. Brace for impact. Jennifer yells into the PA system. Her voice echoes through the cabin. 5 feet. The belly of the aircraft touches water. The impact isn't gentle. It's not a smooth landing. It's a 40-ton aircraft slamming into water at 120 knots. The fuselage hits the surface like a bomb going off. The sound is massive. Deafening. Water sprays over the wings in huge sheets. The windscreen cracks. Spiderwebs of broken glass. The aircraft skips once. Like a stone skipping across a pond. Then slams down again even harder. In the cabin, Passengers are thrown forward against their seatbelts. Overhead bins pop open. Luggage flies through the air. A suitcase hits someone in the head. The nose digs into the water. Spray comes through the front door seals. Cold water. Lots of it. But the fuselage holds together. The plane doesn't break apart. It settles into the water. Floating. Sinking slowly, but floating. In the cockpit, Natasha sits frozen. Her hands still grip the yoke. She's breathing hard. Her whole body is shaking now with adrenaline. Jennifer has blood running down her face from a cut on her forehead. Marcus has a broken nose. Blood pours from it. But they're alive. Evacuate, Jennifer says. Her voice shakes. Everyone out. Now. Sarah Kim is 34 years old. She's sitting in seat 14B with her 7-year-old daughter Emily next to her in 14C. When the engines died, Sarah's first thought was, this is how it ends. She held Emily's hand so tight it probably hurt. She whispered, close your eyes, baby. It's going to be okay. She lied. She lied because that's what mothers do. You lie to your children to make them feel safe even when nothing is safe. Sarah watched the trees get closer through the window. She thought about her husband at home. Her son in 3rd grade. She thought, they'll grow up without me. Then something impossible happened. The plane turned. The nose came up a little. They hit water instead of trees. The impact threw Sarah forward so hard her seatbelt left bruises across her chest. Emily screamed. Sarah held her through it all. Now water is pouring into the cabin. People are shouting. The flight attendants are opening emergency exits. Time to go, baby, Sarah says. Her voice is surprisingly calm. We're getting off the plane now. Emily looks at her with huge eyes. Are we okay, Mommy? Sarah can't speak. She just nods. Pulls Emily toward the emergency exit. They slide down the inflatable slide into the cold water. They're okay. They're alive. Sarah holds Emily in the water and starts crying. Just sobbing. Relief. Terror. Joy. All mixed together. Her daughter is alive. Michael Torres is 52 years old. He's flying to Portland for a contract negotiation. A big deal. Could make or break his small consulting business. When the engines died, Michael sent his wife a text. His hands were shaking so badly he could barely type, I love you. Tell the kids I love them. He was sure the message wouldn't send. They were falling. The plane was nosing down. He figured they'd hit the ground before his phone could connect to a tower. But the message sent. He saw the little, delivered, notification appear just before impact. Now Michael is standing on the wing of the aircraft. Water up to his knees. The plane is half submerged. Sinking slowly. People are climbing onto life rafts. Coast Guard boats are already coming. Fast response. His phone rings. His wife. Michael's hands shake as he answers. Hello. Michael. Her voice is screaming. Crying. I got your text. What's happening? Are you okay? Michael starts crying too. Right there on the wing of a sinking airplane surrounded by strangers. I'm alive, he says. We crashed but I'm alive. The plane went into the water but I'm okay. I'm coming home. His wife sobs on the other end. Thank God. Oh, thank God. Michael looks around at the other passengers. Some are crying. Some are in shock. Some are helping others onto rafts. Everyone is alive. Every single person made it out. That seems impossible. But it's true. Emma Rodriguez is 19 years old. Reed college sophomore. Going home to Portland for the weekend to do laundry and eat her mom's cooking. Emma had her phone out when the engines failed. She'd been taking a video out the window. Just clouds and wing. Boring stuff. But then the engines exploded and everything went wrong and Emma kept recording. She recorded the whole thing. The nose dropping. The trees getting closer. The impossible turn. The water landing. The impact. Her hands were shaking so badly the video is blurry. She can hear herself breathing fast. Hear other people screaming. Now she's on a life raft. Soaking wet. Freezing cold. Still recording. She films the sinking airplane. The Coast Guard boats pulling up. The rescue workers helping people. She films the woman from 12C. The one who walked into the cockpit. The one who saved everyone. Emma's whole body shakes. Shock. Adrenaline. Cold. All of it. But she keeps recording. Later, her video will have 50 million views on social media. News stations will want to buy it. Everyone will want to see what it looks like when you survive the impossible. But right now, Emma is just trying to process that she's alive. That she was 3 seconds from death and somehow lived. That the quiet woman from 12C saved every single person on this plane. All 67 passengers are out of the aircraft. Some are on bright orange life rafts. Some are standing on the wings. A few are in the water wearing inflatable life vests. The Coast Guard boats are pulling people aboard. Wrapping them in silver thermal blankets. The aircraft is sinking. The nose is already underwater. The tail section still sticks up above the surface. Water pours into the cabin through the open emergency exits. Natasha Volkov is the last person out of the cockpit. She's soaked. Exhausted. There's a deep gash on her left arm from when a piece of broken windscreen cut her during impact. Blood runs down to her hand. She stands on the wing. Looking at the passengers. Watching them get rescued. Nobody knows who she is. What she did. To them, the pilots saved everyone. Marcus Webb is sitting on a life raft, holding his broken nose. Blood has dried all over his face and shirt. He sees Natasha standing there. "Hey," he shouts. "Hey. That woman. She's the one who landed us." Passengers turn to look. Stare at Natasha. "Who is she?" someone asks. "She said she was Russian Air Force," Marcus says. His voice is thick from the broken nose. "Call sign Viper. She walked into the cockpit and took the controls and saved us all." A Coast Guard officer in an orange survival suit approaches Natasha. "Ma'am, are you injured?" Natasha shakes her head. "I'm fine." "Are you crew?" "No." "Passenger?" "We're getting reports you helped land the aircraft." Natasha looks at him. "The pilots landed it. I just gave some advice." "Ma'am, we need your full name for our incident report." She hesitates. Just for a second. "Anna Volkova," she says. "And you're a pilot?" "I was. A long time ago." The Coast Guard officer writes it down in a waterproof notebook. He has no idea who he's talking to. No idea what she really is. Natasha watches them help an elderly woman onto a boat. Watches them rescue a kid who can't be more than 5 years old. Everyone lived. Every single person. She allows herself one small moment of satisfaction. Then she climbs onto a rescue boat and lets them take her to shore. Natasha sits in a small room at the Coast Guard station. She's wearing borrowed dry clothes that don't fit right. Someone put a bandage on the cut on her arm. She holds a cup of bad coffee. The door opens. 2 men walk in. Dark suits. Professional haircuts. FBI. Anna Volkova, the first one says. He's maybe 40. Short gray hair. Or should we say Colonel Natasha Volkov? Natasha looks up at them. You know. We know, the second agent says. He's younger. 30s. CIA flagged your identity the moment you gave a fake name to the Coast Guard. We've been tracking your movements since your defection 6 months ago. Am I in trouble? Natasha asks. You just saved 67 American lives using skills you acquired in the Russian military, the first agent says. Technically, you violated about a dozen FAA regulations by entering that cockpit. But practically. He almost smiles. You're a hero. Which creates a problem for us. What problem? You were supposed to disappear, the younger agent explains. New identity. Quiet life. Nobody knows you're here. That was the deal with your defection. You give us intelligence, we give you a new life. Anonymous. Safe. But now there's video all over the internet, the first agent continues. Passengers talking about a mystery woman who saved them. The media is looking for you. We can't keep you hidden anymore. Natasha closes her eyes. So what happens to me? That depends, the first agent says. We can offer you protection. Another new identity. Move you to a different city. Different state. Start over again. Or you go public. Tell your story. But if you do that, Russia will know exactly where you are. They already know, Natasha says. They've known since I defected. True. But now the whole world will know. Every person who watched those videos will know your face. That changes things. Makes you more visible. More vulnerable. Natasha thinks about the 67 people on those life rafts. She thinks about Sarah Kim holding her daughter. About Michael Torres calling his wife. About Emma Rodriguez recording everything because she's still alive to do it. She thinks about hiding. Running. Changing her name again. Pretending to be someone she's not. She's tired of hiding. I'll go public, Natasha says. I'm done hiding. The room is packed with reporters. Cameras everywhere. Lights. Microphones. Natasha stands at a podium. Captain Jennifer Hayes stands next to her. Insisted on being there. Jennifer has a bandage on her forehead. She looks tired but determined. I want to make something very clear, Jennifer tells the cameras. This woman saved every person on that aircraft. Without her, we would have crashed into forest. Everyone would have died. She's a hero. I don't care where she's from or what she used to do. She's a hero. Natasha steps up to the microphone. She looks uncomfortable with all the attention. She speaks quietly. I did what any pilot would do. I used my training to help when help was needed. That's all. A reporter shouts from the crowd, is it true you defected from Russia? Yes. Why did you defect? Natasha pauses. Thinks about her answer. Because I believe people are worth saving, she finally says. No matter which side of a border they're born on. Today, I saved 67 Americans. 6 months ago, I would have been ordered to see them as enemies. I'm glad I'm here instead. Another reporter, what happened in Moscow in 2019? The incident you mentioned? Bird strike, Natasha says. Destroyed both engines on my Su-35 fighter during a demonstration flight. I glided it onto a highway. Everyone lived. Why didn't Russia give you a medal? Because I violated safety protocols. I endangered civilians on that highway. From a military perspective, I made the wrong choice. But everyone lived. So I made the right choice. Is that why you defected? Natasha shakes her head. It's more complicated than that. But yes. That was part of it. Are you afraid Russia will retaliate? I'm always afraid, Natasha says honestly. But I'm more afraid of becoming someone who doesn't help when help is needed. So I live with the fear. Natasha doesn't tell them the whole story. Some things are still classified. Some things still hurt too much. It was May 2019. Victory Day demonstration over Moscow. Hundreds of military aircraft flying in formation. Millions of people watching. Natasha was flying an Su-35 fighter. Call sign Viper. She'd earned that name by being aggressive. Striking fast. Never backing down. The bird strike happened at 800 feet. Right after takeoff. A whole flock of geese went through both engines. The turbines exploded from the inside. Metal fragments everywhere. Both engines failed. Just like Flight 2718. Same situation. Same problem. But Natasha was over the center of Moscow. Densely populated. Nowhere to land safely. She could have ejected. That's what the manual says. When you lose both engines, you eject. Save yourself. Let the plane crash. But the aircraft would have hit apartment buildings. Schools. Hospitals. So Natasha stayed in the cockpit. She glided the 20-ton fighter toward the outskirts of the city. Looking for anywhere that wasn't full of people. She found a highway. 4 lanes. Empty in that section because police had cleared it for the air show. She landed a fighter jet on a highway. Wheels up. Belly landing. The aircraft slid for half a mile. Sparks everywhere. It stopped just before hitting an overpass. 14 million people watched it happen live on television. The Russian Air Force was furious. She'd violated protocols. Endangered civilians. Created a PR nightmare. Instead of a medal, they gave her a quiet reassignment. Sent her to a remote base in Siberia. Basically exiled her. That's when Natasha started questioning everything. Started wondering what she was really fighting for. Started thinking about defection. It took 2 more years. But eventually she made contact with American intelligence. Offered them information. Asked for asylum. 6 months ago, they got her out. Gave her a new identity. Told her to disappear. She tried. She really tried. But apparently once you're a pilot who saves people, you can't stop being that person. Sarah Kim sits at her kitchen table. Emily is upstairs taking a bath. Her husband David makes tea. You should be in the hospital, David says. They checked me out, Sarah says. I'm fine. Just bruises. You crashed into the ocean. We landed on the ocean. There's a difference. David pours tea. His hands shake a little. He's trying to process that his wife and daughter almost died today. The news says a Russian pilot saved you, he says. She did. This woman just walked into the cockpit and landed the plane. Like it was normal. Like she did it every day. Do you believe her story? About Moscow? Sarah thinks about it. I believe she knew what she was doing. I believe she saved us when nobody else could. That's all I need to believe. Emily comes downstairs in pajamas. Her hair is wet. She climbs into Sarah's lap even though she's getting too big for that. Mommy, can we send a card to the pilot lady? Emily asks. What? A thank you card. Because she saved us. Sarah hugs her daughter tight. That's a wonderful idea, baby. We'll make one tomorrow. Emily yawns. Okay. I'm tired. Me too, baby. Me too. Later that night, Sarah lies in bed next to David. She can't sleep. Every time she closes her eyes, she sees trees rushing up. Feels the impact. She gets up. Goes to Emily's room. Just stands in the doorway watching her daughter sleep. Emily is alive because a Russian fighter pilot happened to be on their plane. Because that pilot couldn't stop being who she was. Because she helped even though she was supposed to be hiding. Sarah decides she's going to find Natasha Volkov. She's going to thank her properly. She's going to make sure that woman knows what she did matters. Michael Torres walks through Portland Airport the next day. His flight was rescheduled. Different plane. Different crew. He should get on it. He should go to his meeting. The contract negotiation. The big deal. Instead, he calls his client. I need to reschedule, Michael says. What? Michael, this is $1 million contract. We have everyone here waiting. I know. I'm sorry. But I was on that plane yesterday. Flight 2718. The one that crashed. Silence on the other end. I need a few days, Michael continues. I need to be with my family. I need to hug my kids. The contract can wait. More silence. Then, take all the time you need, Michael. We'll be here when you're ready. Michael takes a cab home instead. Walks through his front door. His wife runs to him. His kids run to him. They all hug in the hallway. I thought I'd never see you again, his wife whispers. Me too, Michael says. But I did. I'm here. That night, Michael writes an email. He addresses it to Horizon Air. To the FAA. To whoever will listen. The subject line says, "Give that Russian pilot a medal." He writes about watching Natasha walk into the cockpit. About the impossible turn. About how she saved everyone. He sends it to every news outlet he can find. Every reporter who covered the story. Every official who might care. Michael Torres is not an important man. He runs a small consulting business. He's not famous. He's not powerful. But he's alive. And he wants people to know why. Emma's video has 53 million views. She sits in her dorm room at Reed College watching the numbers climb. Reading comments. People from all over the world watching what she recorded. Most comments are about Natasha. People calling her a hero. People saying she should get citizenship. People saying Russia should be ashamed they let her go. But some comments bother Emma. Probably a spy. Don't trust defectors. This is suspicious. Why was she really on that plane? Emma reads these and gets angry. She records a new video. Posts it to all her social media. Hi, I'm Emma Rodriguez. I was on flight 2718. I was in seat 22C. I recorded what happened. She's sitting on her bed. Still wearing the Horizon Air blanket they gave her. She looks tired. Some of you are saying Natasha Volkov might be a spy. That we shouldn't trust her. That this seems suspicious. Emma leans toward the camera. I was falling out of the sky yesterday. I was going to die. My mom would have had to identify my body. My dad would have had to plan my funeral. My little brother would have grown up without me. Her voice gets stronger. Natasha Volkov saved my life. She saved 67 lives. She didn't have to do anything. She could have just sat in her seat and died with us. But she didn't. She helped. Emma wipes her eyes. I don't care what country she's from. I don't care what she used to do. I care that I'm alive. So if you want to criticize her, go ahead. But remember that she's the reason I'm here to make this video at all. The video gets 30 million views in 6 hours. Special Agent Robert Chen sits in a conference room with his partner, Agent Lisa Martinez. They're reviewing Natasha Volkov's file. What do we actually know about her? Lisa asks. Robert flips through pages. Born in St. Petersburg, 1984. Entered military flight school at 20. Top of her class. Flew Su-27s, then Su-35s. Accumulated 2,400 flight hours over 14 years. Combat experience. Syria. 2 deployments. Flew combat air patrols. No confirmed kills but participated in several operations. Received commendations for skill and bravery. Then Moscow happened. Right. May 2019. Bird strike. Dual engine failure. She landed a fighter jet on a highway instead of ejecting. Saved the aircraft and potentially hundreds of civilian lives. But violated protocols. Massively. Should have ejected. Should have let the plane crash in an empty area. Instead she risked herself and civilians to save military equipment. Lisa looks at him. You say that like it's a bad thing. I'm saying it shows a pattern, Robert says. She prioritizes saving lives over following orders. That's what got her in trouble with the Russian military. That's why she was reassigned. That's also why she defected. Exactly. She became disillusioned. Started questioning the system. Made contact with us in 2022. Provided intelligence on Russian Air Force capabilities. We extracted her 6 months ago. And now she's blown her cover to save a plane full of Americans. Robert closes the file. Same pattern. Lives over orders. She'll never change. Is that a problem? For us? No. For her? Maybe. Russia knows where she is now. They've seen the news. If they want her back, or want her dead, they can find her. Lisa frowns. Are we offering protection? We offered. She declined. Says she's not hiding anymore. That's brave. Or stupid. With her, I think it's both. Natasha walks into a small office building. The sign outside says, Horizon Air, Flight Training Center. Inside, there are simulators. Training manuals stacked on desks. Photos of aircraft on the walls. Young pilots in uniform walking between rooms. Captain Jennifer Hayes is waiting in a conference room. You came, Jennifer says. You said you had a job offer, Natasha replies. Jennifer gestures to a chair. Natasha sits. Emergency procedures instructor, Jennifer explains. Teaching pilots what to do when everything goes wrong. When both engines fail. When hydraulics are gone. When you have to make impossible choices. I'm not certified to teach American pilots. We can fix that. We have an FAA examiner who's willing to fast-track your certification. You'd need to pass some tests. Demonstrate your knowledge. But given what you did 3 weeks ago. Jennifer smiles. I don't think you'll have trouble proving you know what you're doing. Natasha looks around the room. Training manuals. Simulator schedules. Emergency procedures checklists. I thought I was done flying, she says quietly. You're not flying, Jennifer corrects. You're teaching people how to survive. It's not the same. No. It's better. Because every pilot you teach might save hundreds of lives someday. That math works out pretty well. Natasha picks up one of the training manuals. Flips through it. Emergency procedures. Engine failure. Forced landing. Ditching procedures. She's lived all of this. In Moscow. Over Puget Sound. She knows what these pages mean. She knows what it feels like when the engines stop and you're falling and you have seconds to make the right choice. When would I start? Natasha asks. Tomorrow, if you're ready. First class is at 0800. 6 new first officers. They need to learn what to do when things go wrong. Natasha closes the manual. Looks at Jennifer. Okay, she says. I'll do it. Jennifer extends her hand. Natasha shakes it. Welcome to Horizon Air, Instructor Volkov. Just Natasha. Please. Okay. Natasha. Thank you. For everything. You don't need to thank me. I do. You saved my life. You saved my crew. You saved 67 passengers. So yes, I do need to thank you. Natasha doesn't know what to say to that. She just nods. Jennifer walks her to one of the simulator rooms. Inside is a perfect replica of a CRJ-700 cockpit. All the instruments. All the controls. It looks exactly like the real thing. This is where you'll teach, Jennifer says. We can program any emergency scenario. Any weather condition. Any failure. The pilots sit here and you sit behind them, watching, coaching. Natasha steps into the simulator. Sits in the instructor seat. Looks at the blank screens that will become a cockpit when powered on. I've never taught before, she admits. You taught me, Jennifer says. 3 weeks ago. In about 30 seconds. You taught me that sometimes you have to trust people. That sometimes the right choice isn't in the manual. That sometimes you have to let someone help even if it seems crazy. Natasha turns to look at her. I got lucky. No. You were skilled. There's a difference. Maybe. Jennifer hands her an instructor manual. Read this tonight. First class tomorrow. 6 nervous first officers who need to learn that they can handle emergencies. Show them. She leaves. Natasha sits alone in the dark simulator. She thinks about Moscow. About the highway. About 14 million people watching her land a fighter jet with no engines. She thinks about Flight 2718. About the trees. About the water. About 67 people who lived. She thinks about tomorrow. About 6 young pilots. About teaching them to survive. For the first time in 6 months, Natasha feels like she might have found where she belongs. 6 first officers sit in a classroom. They're young. Mid-20s mostly. Fresh out of training. Excited and nervous. Natasha stands at the front of the room. She's wearing borrowed Horizon Air instructor polo shirt. She feels awkward in it. Good morning, she says. Her English is good but still has a Russian accent. My name is Natasha Volkov. I'll be teaching emergency procedures. One of the pilots raises his hand. Are you the pilot from Flight 2718? Natasha hesitates. Yes. The one who landed it with no engines. Yes. All 6 pilots sit up straighter. Suddenly paying complete attention. Okay, one of them says. We're listening. Natasha smiles despite herself. Good. Because what I'm going to teach you might save your life someday. She turns on a presentation. The first slide shows a CRJ-700 in flight. 3 weeks ago, this aircraft experienced catastrophic dual-engine failure 49 seconds after takeoff. Both engines failed simultaneously. Altitude was 800 feet. Over dense forest. No airports within gliding distance. No suitable landing sites. The pilots lean forward. According to the manual, this scenario is not survivable. You cannot glide a CRJ-700 from 800 feet to any safe landing zone. The math doesn't work. You will crash. She clicks to the next slide. A photo of Flight 2718 floating in Puget Sound. But 67 people survived. 0 fatalities. Why? A young woman raises her hand. Because you did something not in the manual. Exactly. The manual assumes certain parameters. Certain conditions. But in real emergencies, those parameters change. Your job is to adapt. Natasha clicks to the next slide. A diagram showing the impossible turn. This is what we did. 90-degree turn at low altitude with no engines. Textbooks say it's suicide. And textbooks are usually right. But not always. She spends the next hour explaining the physics. The ground effect. The glide ratio. The precise bank angle needed. The exact airspeed to maintain. The pilots take notes frantically. They ask questions. Good questions. Smart questions. At the end of class, the same young woman who asked the first question approaches Natasha. Thank you, she says. I mean, for teaching us. But also for saving those people. My cousin was on flight 2718. Seat 9B. Michael Torres. Natasha remembers him. The businessman who called his wife. Who cried on the wing. He wrote letters, the pilot continues. To everyone. Congress. FAA. News stations. Saying you should get a medal. Saying you should be teaching pilots. I guess someone listened. Natasha doesn't know what to say. I just did what needed doing. That's what heroes say. Normal people say they were too scared. Heroes say they just did what needed doing. The young pilot leaves. Natasha stands alone in the classroom. She thinks about that word. Hero. She doesn't feel like a hero. She feels like someone who got lucky. Who remembered her training. Who made choices that happened to work out. But maybe that's what heroism is. Not being fearless. Just doing what needs doing even when you're terrified. 6 months later, Natasha has taught 43 pilots now. Some were good. Some were great. All of them learned. She's living in a small apartment in Renton. Close to the training center. She doesn't have much. Doesn't need much. Just books and a coffee maker and a view of the airfield. Some nights she watches planes take off. Watches them climb into the sky. She doesn't miss flying. Not really. But she misses the feeling of being in control. Of knowing exactly what to do. Teaching gives her some of that back. When she's in the simulator with a panicked first officer who just lost both engines, she knows how to help. She knows what to say. She knows how to guide them to safety. It's not the same as flying. But it's enough. Her phone rings. Unknown number. She almost doesn't answer. But something makes her pick up. Hello. Is this Natasha Volkov? A woman's voice. Unfamiliar. Yes. Who is this? My name is Sarah Kim. I was on flight 2718. Seat 14B. I've been trying to find you for 6 months. Natasha sits down. Why? Because I never got to thank you properly. You saved my daughter. You saved me. I needed to tell you what that means. Sarah's voice cracks a little. Emily was 7 years old. She's 8 now. She draws pictures of airplanes. She wants to be a pilot when she grows up. Because of you. Because you showed her that women can save people. Natasha feels her throat tighten. I just did my job. No. You did more than that. You gave my daughter a future. You gave her heroes to look up to. You showed her that people from different countries can help each other. Natasha can't speak. She just listens. Emily made you something, Sarah continues. A card. A thank you card. She's been working on it for months. Can I send it to you? Yes, Natasha manages. Yes, please. She gives Sarah her address. They talk for a few more minutes. Sarah tells her about Emily's first day of third grade. About how she still talks about the plain lady who saved everyone. When they hang up, Natasha sits quietly in her apartment. She thinks about Emily drawing airplanes. About a little girl who wants to be a pilot because she saw a woman save lives. Maybe that's the real impact. Not the 67 people who lived. But what those people do with the lives they were given back. The lessons they teach their children. The letters they write. The videos they post. The gratitude they feel. Natasha looks out her window at the planes taking off. She's never getting back in a fighter jet. Never getting back in a commercial cockpit. But she's still flying, in a way. Through the pilots she teaches. Through the people she saves by teaching others. Call sign Viper. Still dangerous. Still saving lives. Just in a different way now. 2 weeks later, a large envelope arrives. Hand addressed. From Sarah Kim. Inside is a card. Handmade. The cover shows a drawing of an airplane. Colored pencil. Pretty good for an 8-year-old. The plane is blue and white. Horizon Air colors. Inside, in careful child handwriting. Dear Miss Natasha. Thank you for saving me and my mom. I was scared but you made the plane land safe. My mom says you are a hero. I think you are a hero too. I want to be a pilot like you when I grow up. I want to save people too. Thank you for being brave. Love, Emily Kim, age 8. Natasha reads it 3 times. Then she puts it on her refrigerator with a magnet. Every morning when she makes coffee, she sees it. Emily's drawing. Emily's words. It reminds her why she teaches. Why she stays in America instead of trying to disappear again. Why she chose to go public instead of hiding. Because people are worth saving. Because children deserve futures. Because sometimes helping matters more than protecting yourself. She thinks about Moscow. About landing a fighter jet on a highway while millions watched. About the Russian Air Force being angry instead of grateful. She thinks about Flight 2718. About the trees. About the water. About the impossible turn that worked. She thinks about Emily drawing airplanes. And Natasha knows she made the right choice. To defect. To help. To teach. She's not running anymore. She's not hiding. She's just living. And helping people live too. Call sign Viper. Still striking when everyone thinks she's done. Still saving lives. 1 year later, the National Transportation Safety Board holds a hearing about Flight 2718. They want to understand what happened. What went wrong? What went right? Natasha is called to testify. She sits at a table in a government building in Washington, D.C. A panel of investigators faces her. Lawyers. Aviation experts. Officials. Ms. Volkov, the lead investigator says. Can you describe what you did in the cockpit of Flight 2718? Natasha explains it all. The flaps. The turn. The ground effect. The water landing. She uses technical terms. Explains the physics. Shows her understanding. Were you aware that FAA regulations prohibit unauthorized personnel from entering the cockpit during flight? An official asks. Yes. And you violated those regulations anyway? Yes. Why? Natasha looks at him directly. Because following regulations would have killed 67 people. Breaking regulations saved them. I chose saving them. Some officials nod. Others make notes. In your professional opinion, another investigator asks, could the flight crew have successfully landed the aircraft without your assistance? Natasha pauses. Chooses her words carefully. Captain Hayes and First Officer Webb are excellent pilots. Skilled and professional. But they had never experienced dual-engine failure at that altitude. Their training prepares them for many scenarios, but not that specific one. So you're saying they couldn't have done it? I'm saying I had specific experience they didn't have. I had landed an aircraft with no engines before. I knew what to expect. That knowledge saved time we didn't have. Do you believe other pilots could replicate what you did? With proper training? Yes. That's why I teach it now. Emergency procedures for scenarios that aren't supposed to be survivable. Because sometimes survival is possible if you know what to do. The lead investigator leans forward. The manufacturer of the CRJ-700 says your maneuver should have resulted in a catastrophic stall and crash. They say you got lucky. Natasha almost smiles. Luck helps. But I've been lucky twice now. Moscow and Seattle. At some point, it's not just luck. It's skill and experience. So you believe your actions were justified? Despite violating multiple regulations? Yes. Even knowing you could face consequences. 67 people are alive. Whatever consequences I face are worth that. The room is quiet for a moment. Then the lead investigator says, the NTSB preliminary finding is that your actions directly prevented a catastrophic accident. While we cannot officially condone violation of FAA regulations, we acknowledge that in this specific circumstance, your intervention saved lives. He looks at her with something like respect. Thank you for your testimony, Ms. Volkov. You're dismissed. Natasha stands to leave. One more thing, the investigator says. Off the record. That turn you made. 90 degrees at 800 feet. How did you know it would work? Natasha thinks about it. I didn't. I just knew doing nothing definitely wouldn't work. So I tried something. It worked. You risked everyone's lives on something you weren't sure would work. No. Everyone's lives were already at risk. Already lost, actually, if I did nothing. I gave them a chance they didn't have before. That's all I could do. She leaves the hearing room. Outside, reporters are waiting. Cameras. Microphones. Ms. Volkov. Will you face charges? The NTSB praised your actions. Any comment? Are you worried about Russian retaliation? Natasha walks past them. Says nothing. She's learned that sometimes silence is better than words. Natasha returns to teaching. Business as usual. 6 new first officers need to learn emergency procedures. But something has changed. The hearing was televised. Her testimony was broadcast. Now everyone knows the full story. Her students look at her differently now. Not just as an instructor. As someone who's been tested and proved themselves. How did you stay calm? One student asks. When Flight 2718 was falling. Natasha thinks about it. I didn't stay calm. I was terrified. My hands were shaking. My heart was pounding. But I used that fear. Turned it into focus. Fear isn't your enemy in an emergency. Panic is. What's the difference? Fear makes you alert. Sharpens your thinking. Panic makes you freeze. The trick is acknowledging the fear but not letting it control you. She shows them footage from the hearing. The technical analysis. The physics of what happened. This maneuver has now been studied, she explains. Engineers have run simulations. They've determined that under specific conditions, with precise execution, it can work. It's now being considered for inclusion in emergency training. A student raises his hand. So you invented a new emergency procedure? No. I adapted existing knowledge to a new situation. That's what you'll need to do someday. Take what you know and apply it to what you're facing. They spend hours in the simulator. Natasha programs scenario after scenario. Engine failures. Hydraulic failures. Combined failures. The students struggle at first. Make mistakes. Crash in simulations. But they learn. They improve. They start to understand. That's what teaching is. Watching people fail safely so they can succeed when it matters. 2 years later, Natasha is now the head of emergency procedures training at Horizon Air. She's developed new curricula. New scenarios. New ways of teaching pilots to handle the impossible. Flight 2718 has become a case study. Aviation schools worldwide teach it. The miracle on Puget Sound, they call it. Natasha hates that name. Makes it sound like divine intervention. Like magic. It wasn't magic. It was physics and skill and a little luck. But she understands why people need stories like this. Need to believe that impossible situations can have possible solutions. She's been approached by other airlines. Bigger carriers. Better pay. But she stays at Horizon. Loyalty matters to her. One day, Captain Jennifer Hayes comes to her office. I'm retiring, Jennifer says. 25 years is enough. Time to travel. Spend time with family. Actually use all those hotel points I've accumulated. You'll be missed, Natasha says. I wanted to tell you first. Before the official announcement. Because you should know something. What? I recommended you for my position. Chief pilot. You'd oversee all flight operations. Not just training. Natasha blinks. I'm not American. I've only been here 2 years. You saved 67 lives. You've trained hundreds of pilots. You've revolutionized emergency procedures training. You're more qualified than anyone. I don't think management will approve. They already did. If you want it, the job is yours. Natasha sits in silence. Chief pilot. Her. A Russian defector running flight operations for an American airline. I need to think about it, she says. Take your time. But not too much time. They need an answer by next month. Jennifer leaves. Natasha sits alone in her office. Chief pilot. More responsibility. More visibility. More risk. She thinks about Emily Kim's card, still on her refrigerator. About the 67 people whose lives she saved. About the hundreds of pilots she's trained. She thinks about Moscow. About defecting. About choosing to help instead of hide. This is another choice. Another risk. Another chance to make a difference. She knows what she'll say. But she takes the month to think about it anyway. Because big decisions deserve consideration. Natasha's phone rings at 2 a.m. She wakes up confused. Checks the caller ID. Unknown international number. She almost doesn't answer. But something makes her pick up. Hello. Silence. Then a man's voice. Speaking Russian. Natasha Volkov. Call sign Viper. She sits up. Fully awake now. Who is this? Someone from your old life. Someone who remembers Moscow. Who remembers what you did. Her blood runs cold. What do you want? To tell you that you made the right choice. Defecting. Saving those people. Choosing to help instead of following orders. Natasha doesn't understand. Who are you? I was your flight instructor. 12 years ago. I taught you how to fly fighters. Taught you to trust your instincts. She remembers him. Colonel Petrov. Tough. Demanding. But fair. You taught me well, she says carefully. I taught you to survive. You're doing more than that now. You're helping others survive. That matters. Why are you calling? Because I wanted you to know that not everyone in Russia thinks you're a traitor. Some of us think you're exactly what a pilot should be. Someone who saves lives. That could get you in trouble. I'm old. Retired. They can't touch me anymore. I just wanted to call before I forget. Before it's too late. Natasha feels her throat tighten. Thank you. Keep teaching, Viper. Keep saving people. That's your purpose. The line goes dead. Natasha sits in the dark. Thinking about her old instructor. About Moscow. About how some connections survive even across borders and politics. She doesn't go back to sleep. Just sits by her window watching planes take off until sunrise. Natasha accepts the position of chief pilot. The announcement makes news. Former Russian fighter pilot to lead Horizon Air flight operations. Some people object. Question her loyalty. Wonder if she can be trusted. But more people support her. Including every pilot she's ever trained. Including the 67 passengers from Flight 2718. Michael Torres starts a petition. Support Chief Pilot Volkov. Gets 50,000 signatures in a week. Sarah Kim writes an editorial for the Seattle Times. The woman who saved my daughter should lead our pilots. Emma Rodriguez posts a video that gets 40 million views. This is what America should be about. The criticism dies down. Mostly. Natasha starts her new job quietly. No big ceremony. No speeches. Just shows up on her first day and gets to work. Her first decision as chief pilot, mandatory advanced emergency procedures training for all pilots. Not optional. Required. Some pilots complain. We're already trained. You're trained for normal emergencies, Natasha says. I'm training you for abnormal ones. The ones not in the manual. She personally oversees the development of new training scenarios. Draws on her experience from Moscow and Seattle. Creates situations that seem impossible but aren't. Her pilots learn. They improve. They become some of the best trained emergency pilots in commercial aviation. Airlines around the world start copying her methods. Aviation schools update their curricula. The industry changes because one woman refused to let impossible situations stay impossible. 5 years later, it's November 14, 2029. 5 years to the day since the crash. Horizon Air holds a small ceremony. Not flashy. Just a memorial. A plaque at Seattle-Tacoma Airport. In memory of Flight 2718. All 67 souls saved through skill, courage, and determination. All 67 passengers are invited. Most come. Some can't make it. But they send messages. Sarah Kim brings Emily. She's 13 now. Tall. Confident. Already talking about flight school. Michael Torres brings his whole family. His business thrived. He attributes everything to getting a second chance. Emma Rodriguez is there too. She's a senior in college now. Journalism major. Still making videos. Captain Jennifer Hayes attends. Retired but still sharp. Still proud of her crew. First Officer Marcus Webb is there. He's a captain now. Flies 737s. Trained by Natasha's methods. The ceremony is short. Simple. Natasha doesn't give a speech. Just stands there with everyone else. Afterward, Emily approaches her. The teenager looks nervous. Ms. Volkov. I'm Emily Kim. You might not remember me. Natasha smiles. I remember. You made me a card. It's still on my refrigerator. Emily's eyes go wide. Really? Really? You said you wanted to be a pilot. I do. I start flight training next summer. I got my student pilot certificate last month. That's wonderful. I wanted to ask you something. When I get my commercial license, would Horizon Air consider me? I know I'm years away from that, but... Natasha puts a hand on her shoulder. When you're ready, call me. We'll talk. Good pilots are always needed. Emily looks like she might cry. Thank you. For everything. Sarah Kim comes over. Hugs Natasha. She talks about you all the time. You're her hero. I'm just a pilot, Natasha says. You're more than that. You're proof that people can change. That they can become better. That's what heroes do. Natasha sits in her apartment. Alone. Looking at Emily's card on her refrigerator. 5 years since Flight 2718. 5 years since she stopped hiding and started helping. She thinks about Moscow. About the highway. About defecting. About all the choices that led her here. She thinks about the 67 people. About Emily wanting to be a pilot. About Michael's business. About Emma's journalism career. About all the lives that continued because she made one choice on a falling airplane. Her phone buzzes. A text from Jennifer Hayes. Proud of you, Chief. You've come a long way from seat 12C. Natasha smiles. Texts back. Still the same person. Just different seat. That's what I'm proud of. You didn't change who you are. You just found better ways to use it. Natasha looks out her window. Planes taking off into the night. Each one carrying people. Each one in the hands of a pilot she helped train. She doesn't fly anymore. But she's still flying. Through them. Through every pilot who learned from her. Through every passenger who lives because a pilot knew what to do when everything went wrong. Call sign Viper. Not dangerous anymore. Just determined. Still saving lives. One pilot at a time. 10 years later, Emily Kim is a first officer now. Flies regional jets. Just like Natasha did that day. She's written a book. Seat 12C, The Woman Who Saved Flight 2718. It's a bestseller. Tells the whole story. Natasha's defection. The crash. The aftermath. Everything. Natasha didn't want to cooperate at first. Doesn't like attention. But Emily convinced her. People need to know, Emily said. Not just what you did. But why? People need to understand that heroism isn't about being fearless. It's about being afraid and helping anyway. So Natasha gave interviews. Shared her story. Let Emily write it all down. The book includes interviews with all 67 passengers. Where they are now. What they've done with their second chance. Sarah Kim became a paramedic. Saves lives for a living now. Michael Torres sold his business and started a non-profit. Provides scholarships for aviation students from low-income families. Emma Rodriguez is an investigative journalist. Won a Pulitzer for a series on aviation safety. All of them trace their paths back to that day. To those 49 seconds. To the choice Natasha made. The book's dedication reads. To Colonel Natasha Viper Volkov, who taught us that the right choice isn't always in the manual. Sometimes you have to write it yourself. Natasha Volkov is 60 years old now. Still chief pilot at Horizon Air. Shows no signs of retiring. She's trained over 2,000 pilots in her career. Every one of them knows the story of Flight 2718. Every one of them learned that impossible situations sometimes have possible solutions. The industry has changed because of her. Emergency procedures are different. Training is different. Pilots think differently about risk and skill and when to follow rules versus when to break them. She still lives in the same small apartment. Still has Emily's card on her refrigerator. Still watches planes take off every morning. Some nights, she dreams about Moscow. About the highway. About those 14 million people watching. Some nights, she dreams about Seattle. About the trees. About the water. About 67 lives hanging in the balance. But mostly, she dreams about the future. About the next pilot she'll train. The next life she'll save indirectly. The next impossible situation that becomes possible. She's no longer Colonel Volkov of the Russian Air Force. She's no longer Anna Volkova trying to hide. She's Chief Pilot Natasha Volkov. Call sign Viper. And she's exactly where she needs to be. Emily Kim is 28 years old. Captain now. Flying a CRJ 700. Same type as Flight 2718. It's a routine flight. Seattle to Portland. Same route her mother flew that day. 30 minutes into the flight, at 18,000 feet, something happens. One engine fails. Not catastrophic. Not immediate danger. But serious. Emily runs through the checklist. Her training kicks in. Natasha's training. She declares an emergency. Diverts to the nearest airport. Single-engine landing. Textbook perfect. All 68 passengers safe. No injuries. Just a mechanical issue handled professionally. After landing, Emily calls Natasha. I had my first real emergency today. I heard. You handled it well. I kept thinking about what you taught us. Stay calm. Use the fear. Follow training but be ready to adapt. And you did all that? Yes. Then you're a good pilot. I'm proud of you. Emily sits in silence for a moment. I wouldn't be here without you. Without what you did for my mom and me. You would be somewhere. Maybe not here, but somewhere. No. I mean it. You gave me a future. You gave me a purpose. Everything I am is because you made one choice on a falling airplane. Natasha thinks about that. About all the ripple effects. About how one moment changes everything. Then use it well, she says. Keep saving people. Keep being good at what you do. That's how you honor what happened. I will. I promise. They hang up. Emily sits in the cockpit of her parked aircraft. Thinking about Natasha. About her mother. About that day. Natasha sits in her office. Thinking about Emily. About the 67 passengers. About Moscow. About everything. 2 pilots. 2 generations. Connected by 49 seconds that changed everything. The sun sets over Seattle. Planes continue taking off and landing. Life continues. And somewhere, always, someone is teaching someone else how to survive the impossible. Call sign Viper. Legacy continues.